The quality of your life is determined by the standards you set for yourself. Most people live far below their potential, not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they tolerate too much. They tolerate distractions, bad habits, and mediocrity. They accept less than they deserve, and then wonder why they feel stuck. The truth is, your life will never rise higher than the standards you demand from yourself. You don't get what you want, you get what you're willing to work for, fight, and refuse to settle on. Success isn't about luck. It isn't about hoping things will change. It's about making a decision. A decision to raise your standards so high that failure is no longer an option. Every high achiever, every leader, every self-made success has one thing in common. They refuse to accept average. They operate at a level where excuses don't exist. They demand more from themselves, not just once, not just when they feel like it, but every single day. If you want to change your life, you must change what you accept. If you want to achieve greatness, you must stop tolerating weakness. This video will challenge everything you believe about success. By the end, you won't just feel inspired, you will have the mindset, the discipline, and the strategy to raise your standards and change your life forever. Stay with me, because this could be the defining moment that separates you from the life you have and the life you are truly capable of. Number one, winners and losers have the same goals. What separates them is standards. The truth is, everybody wants success. Everybody wants a better life. Everybody has dreams, goals, and ambitions. But if that's the case, why is it that only a small percentage of people actually succeed? Why do some rise to greatness while others remain stuck, struggling year after year? It's not because of talent. It's not because of luck. It's not even because of intelligence. The reason is simple: standards. That's the difference. That's the deciding factor. Winners and losers have the same goals, but what separates them is the standards they live by every single day. A winner doesn't just hope to succeed. They demand it from themselves. A loser wants success too, but they settle for less when things get uncomfortable. Think about it. Two people can start in the same place with the same dream, the same opportunity. One builds an extraordinary life, and the other stays exactly where they are. It's not about what they wanted. It's about what they refuse to accept from themselves. A champion doesn't wake up one day and say, "I hope I win today." No, they live by a standard. They train when they don't feel like it. They push when it hurts. They don't make excuses, and they don't lower the bar when things get tough. It's not about what they want. It's about what they require from themselves. That's why they win. Most people set goals, but when it gets difficult, they give themselves an easy way out. They say, "I'll do it tomorrow," or "It's okay, I tried," and they think they lost because of circumstances or bad luck or something outside of their control. But the truth is, they lost the moment they allowed themselves to settle. The moment they accepted a standard that was lower than what was necessary for success. Success isn't about what you hope for, it's about what you tolerate. If you tolerate laziness, if you tolerate distractions, if you tolerate mediocrity, then that's exactly what you'll get. But if you refuse to accept anything less than your best, if you hold yourself to a higher standard than everyone around you, then success is inevitable. It's just a matter of time. Most people don't realize this, but the quality of your life is determined by the standards you set, not the goals you make. Goals are just words. Standards are actions. Anybody can say they want to be rich, but only those who set a standard of working hard, improving daily, and being relentless actually make it happen. Anybody can say they want to be in great shape, but unless they set a standard that says, I don't eat junk food, I don't make excuses, they'll never get there. It's not about saying you want it. It's about proving it through what you demand from yourself. And if you don't have what you want right now, it's because you've been tolerating things that hold you back. You've been allowing yourself to live by a standard that is too low. So the question is, what are you willing to stop accepting? What are you willing to raise your standards on? What are you willing to demand from yourself? Starting today? Because here's the truth. The moment you raise your standards, everything changes. It's not magic. It's cause and effect. If you stop allowing distractions to take over your day, you'll get more done. If you stop tolerating negative people in your life, your mindset will improve. If you stop making excuses and start taking action, you will see progress. It's that simple. Most people don't struggle because they lack opportunity. They struggle because they keep allowing themselves to slip into bad habits. They let one missed workout turn into a week. They let one lazy day turn into a routine. They let one excuse open the door for 100 more. And over time, their low standards shape their entire life. But if you decide right now that you will never accept less than your absolute best, everything will change for you. Imagine what your life would look like 6 months from now if you stopped allowing yourself to quit. Imagine where you would be if you set a new standard, where giving up is not an option. If you decided that no matter how tired you feel, no matter how many obstacles come your way, you will show up, you will work, and you will win. It wouldn't even take years, just months of holding yourself to a higher standard would transform everything. You would become stronger, smarter, and more disciplined. And when that happens, success isn't a question of if, it's only a matter of when. The greatest achievers in history weren't special. They just refused to accept anything less than their best. They weren't smarter than you. They weren't luckier than you. They simply set a higher standard and never compromised. Now it's your turn. You have to decide what you will no longer accept. Will you continue to let distractions steal your time? Will you keep allowing yourself to settle for good enough? Or will you raise the bar? Will you demand more from yourself? The winners of this world aren't the ones who started with the best circumstances. They are the ones who decided that failure was not an option. They are the ones who held themselves accountable even when nobody was watching. Right now, you have that same opportunity, but you have to make the choice. Stop waiting for motivation. Stop hoping for things to change on their own. Raise your standards today, and success will follow. That's the secret. That's the truth. And that's how you change your life forever. Number 2, high standards require high discipline. Success is never an accident. It doesn't happen by luck. And it doesn't just fall into your lap because you wished for it. It happens when you make a decision to live by a higher standard than the average person. But here's the thing most people don't understand. High standards require high discipline. A lot of people talk about success like it's just about having big goals. They say, I want to be rich, I want to be in shape, I want to have a great life. But wanting is not enough. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't just about what they want, it's about what they're willing to do every single day. Discipline is the price you pay for the life you want. You can't have high standards without it. You can't say you want success and then hit the snooze button 5 times every morning. You can't say you want financial freedom but keep spending money on things you don't need. You can't say you want to be great but keep giving in to laziness, distractions, and excuses. That's not how it works. When you truly raise your standards, you stop negotiating with yourself. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop making deals with your own weaknesses. Because you understand that success doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care if you're tired, if you don't feel like it, or if you're having a bad day. It only rewards the people who show up, who put in the work, and who stay committed no matter what. That's the real test. Everybody is disciplined when it's easy. Everybody can push themselves when they feel motivated. But what separates the winners from everyone else is what they do when motivation runs out. When nobody's watching. When they're tired. When it's inconvenient. When it feels like nothing is working. That's when discipline matters the most. Most people don't fail because they lack intelligence or opportunity. They fail because they lack discipline. They can't stay consistent. They let distractions take over. They let their emotions control their actions. One bad day turns into a bad week. One missed workout turns into a month. One excuse turns into a habit. And before they know it, they've lowered their standards without even realizing it. Discipline means doing what you said you would do even when you don't feel like it anymore. It means showing up even when the excitement is gone. It means sticking to the plan even when progress is slow. It means choosing long-term success over short-term comfort. Think about it. The most successful people in any field aren't the ones who work hard once in a while. They're the ones who work hard every single day. The athletes who train when nobody's watching. The entrepreneurs who keep grinding even when they don't see immediate results. The people who do the right thing even when nobody would blame them for taking a break. And the truth is, that level of discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. It's a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. But the opposite is also true. The more you give in to laziness and excuses, the weaker your discipline becomes. Most people don't realize that every small decision matters. Every time you hit snooze, you're training yourself to break your own promises. Every time you skip a workout, you're telling yourself that comfort is more important than progress. Every time you put off your goals for another day, you're lowering your own standards without even realizing it. But the good news is, the same is true in the other direction. Every time you push through, every time you show up, every time you do what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it, you're building discipline. You're proving to yourself that you are in control. And the more you do that, the easier it gets. So if you want to change your life, don't just set big goals. Develop the discipline to match them. Start small. Commit to something and stick to it no matter what. Wake up at the same time every day. Exercise even when you're tired. Save money even when you'd rather spend it. Work on your goals even when nobody is watching. Because at the end of the day, discipline is the bridge between where you are now and where you want to be. And if you don't build that bridge, you will never get there. High standards are meaningless without discipline. Anybody can talk about success, but only a few are willing to do what it takes to achieve it. And that's the truth. Most people don't want to hear, but if you understand it, if you commit to it, if you raise your standards and develop the discipline to match, then nothing in this world can stop you. Number 3, if you want to change your life, change what you accept. If you truly want to change your life, you have to be willing to change what you accept now. I'm not talking about accepting things that come your way without taking action. I'm talking about accepting the standards you've set for yourself, the way you view the world around you, and the way you allow things to affect your attitude and your behavior. It's easy to look around and blame circumstances, blame people, or blame bad luck for why things aren't going the way you want them to. But let me tell you, that's never the real problem. The real problem is that you've accepted things as they are. And by doing so, you've locked yourself into a cycle that's hard to break. You can't expect to have a life full of success, happiness, and fulfillment if you continue to accept mediocrity. When you accept less than what you truly deserve, less than what you're capable of, that becomes your reality. You set a low bar for yourself, and life is more than happy to meet that bar. But if you want more, if you want to live a life that exceeds your expectations, you have to be willing to change what you're accepting. A lot of people live in a state of constant dissatisfaction because they've accepted the wrong things. They've accepted that their job doesn't fulfill them, that their health isn't as good as it should be, that their relationships are stuck in a rut. And instead of taking action to change it, they simply learn to live with it. They think to themselves, well, this is just the way it is. This is as good as it's going to get. But here's the hard truth. If you're accepting things that are less than what you truly desire, you are the one holding yourself back. You are the one creating your own limits. It's not your boss. It's not your circumstances. It's not the economy. It's you. You've decided that this is the way things are, and you've stopped pushing for more. You've stopped demanding more from yourself. You've stopped expecting more from life. And that is the biggest mistake you can make. Let's face it, life isn't always going to hand you exactly what you want. But that doesn't mean you should just settle for whatever comes your way. When you start raising your standards, you begin to change what you're willing to accept. Instead of accepting mediocre results, you start demanding excellence. Instead of accepting poor health, you begin to make healthier choices. Instead of accepting negative relationships, you start surrounding yourself with people who lift you up. You stop accepting the status quo and begin to expect better, work harder, and push further. The truth is, if you don't change your standards, you will always accept less than you deserve. You will always settle for what comes your way, and you'll never experience the full potential of what's possible for you. But when you raise your standards, when you decide that you will no longer accept less than what you deserve, your life begins to shift. It's all about taking responsibility. If you've been living with low standards, now's the time to change that. It's time to stop accepting mediocrity, to stop accepting anything less than greatness, and to stop accepting excuses. Change doesn't happen when you're comfortable. It happens when you're uncomfortable with the current situation. When you say, I'm not okay with this anymore. I'm ready to step up and demand more from myself and from life. This doesn't happen overnight, of course. Changing what you accept is a process. It's not easy, but it's worth it. When you decide to raise your standards, you start making different choices. You start taking different actions. You start thinking differently, and little by little, your life starts to look different. You'll notice that you no longer tolerate the things that once seemed normal. You'll start recognizing the areas where you've been holding yourself back. You'll see where you've been settling, and you'll begin to do something about it. You'll start pushing yourself harder, working smarter, and demanding more from yourself. And you'll start to see the results in every area of your life. If you want to change your life, you have to stop accepting anything less than what you truly want. You have to stop tolerating mediocrity. You have to stop saying it's okay when it's really not okay. You have to stop accepting things that aren't serving you and start stepping up to create the life you truly desire. But here's the thing. Raising your standards is about more than just taking action. It's about changing your mindset. It's about shifting the way you view yourself, the way you view the world, and the way you view your potential. It's about believing that you are worthy of more. It's about deciding that you are capable of achieving greatness and that anything less is unacceptable. The moment you start to believe this, the moment you stop accepting less than what you deserve, your whole life will begin to change. You'll find that opportunities begin to open up. You'll find that people start showing up in your life who support and encourage you. You'll find that you have more energy, more motivation, and more focus. And above all, you'll find that the life you've always dreamed of is within your reach. The first step to changing your life is to change what you're willing to accept. Once you do that, everything else will fall into place. Number 4, small changes in standards create big changes in results. Imagine waking up one morning and realizing that the life you're living right now is simply a result of the standards you've set for yourself. Every success, every failure, every opportunity you've taken or ignored, it all comes down to what you've been willing to accept. And the best part? The moment you decide to raise your standards, even just a little, everything starts to change. That's the secret. Most people overlook. You don't need some massive overnight transformation. You don't need a complete life overhaul to start seeing progress. All it takes is a small shift, a little adjustment in what you expect from yourself, what you demand from life, and what you refuse to tolerate. Because small changes in standards create big changes in results. The truth is, most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail because they accept too little from themselves. They set their standards too low. They allow laziness to creep in. They tolerate excuses, and they accept a level of effort that keeps them stuck exactly where they are. They want success, but they never demand it from themselves. They wish for better, but they never raise their expectations. And then they wonder why nothing ever changes. But think about this. What happens when you make a tiny shift in what you demand from yourself? What happens when you decide that showing up late is no longer acceptable? What happens when you refuse to make excuses for skipping a workout, for avoiding hard work, for settling for less than you know you're capable of? At first it seems small, it seems insignificant. But over time, these little shifts compound. They build momentum. And before you know it, the results start to show. This is where most people get it wrong. They think success is about big, dramatic moves. They think it's about quitting their job overnight, making $1 million in a year, or transforming their entire life in one big step. But that's not how it works. The people who truly succeed, the ones who build lives of greatness, understand that the real change happens in the details. It's in the small decisions, the little upgrades, the minor adjustments in how they think, act, and live their daily lives. Think about it. If you improve just one habit, even by a small percentage, it sets off a chain reaction. Say you decide today that you will no longer tolerate procrastination. You commit to tackling your tasks immediately, no matter how small. At first, it seems like a minor shift, but over time, it changes everything. Your work gets done faster, you build momentum, you feel more productive, more accomplished, more in control. That one small change leads to bigger results, higher efficiency, better opportunities, and ultimately, greater success. Or take your health, for example. You don't have to completely overhaul your diet and spend 5 hours in the gym every day to see a difference. What if you simply decide that eating junk food late at night is no longer acceptable? What if you choose to walk for 30 minutes instead of scrolling through your phone? Just one small shift in standard and suddenly, you're making healthier choices, feeling better and gaining more energy. Over time, that energy translates into better performance, sharper focus, and an entirely different level of confidence. The same goes for relationships. The way people treat you is a reflection of what you've been willing to accept. If you've been tolerating toxic behavior, negative people, or shallow conversations, it's because you've set a low standard for the kind of connections you allow in your life. But the moment you raise that standard, even just a little, you start demanding better. You stop entertaining drama. You surround yourself with people who push you forward, not hold you back. And that one small change completely shifts the quality of your life. Now, here's the thing most people don't realize. Once you raise a standard, you can't go back. When you decide that a certain level of effort, discipline, and commitment is now your baseline, you naturally start operating at that level. It becomes your new normal. And that's how transformation happens. You don't force it. You don't fake it. You simply refuse to accept anything less than the new version of yourself. But raising your standards isn't just about cutting out bad habits. It's also about upgrading your mindset. It's about deciding that you deserve more, that you're capable of more, and that settling for less is no longer an option. It's about shifting your self-permission to match the kind of person who achieves great things. Because when you change how you see yourself, you change how you act. And when you change how you act, you change the results you get. Look around at the people who are truly successful, the ones who have built lives of purpose, achievement, and fulfillment. They didn't get there by luck. They got there by setting a different standard. They expected more from themselves. They demanded more effort, more discipline, more focus. And because of that, they got different results. The best part, you can do the same. You don't have to be born with special skills. You don't need some rare talent or perfect timing. You just have to decide right now that you will no longer accept the things that are holding you back. You will no longer tolerate laziness, procrastination, negativity, or mediocrity. You will no longer settle for less than you deserve. And once you make that decision, once you commit to that small but powerful change, everything in your life will begin to shift. Because success isn't about making one big move. It's about making the right small moves consistently over time. It's about stacking little improvements, raising your standards bit by bit until you wake up one day and realize that your entire life is transformed. And the best part? It all started with one simple decision: to stop accepting less and start demanding more. Number 5, the only way to guarantee success is to make excellence non-negotiable. Waking up every single day knowing that whatever you touch, whatever you do, will be done at the highest level possible. Imagine holding yourself to a standard so high that cutting corners, making excuses, or settling for average is no longer even an option. That's what separates the great from the average. That's what separates those who talk about success from those who actually achieve it. Because the only way to guarantee success is to make excellence non-negotiable. Most people live their lives in a cycle of mediocrity, not because they lack ambition, but because they allow themselves to perform at a level that is just good enough. They work just hard enough to get by, they put in just enough effort to avoid criticism, they do what is required but nothing more, and then they wonder why they never break through, why their results are always average, why their dreams always seem just out of reach. The answer is simple. They have made mediocrity acceptable. They have allowed themselves to operate at a level where excellence is optional, not mandatory. But look at the ones who truly succeed, the ones who build incredible businesses, who master their craft, who reach levels of greatness that most people can only dream about. There is one thing they all have in common. They refuse to tolerate anything less than their absolute best. They don't work hard only when they feel like it. They don't give effort only when someone is watching. They don't aim for excellence only when the pressure is on. No, for them, excellence is the standard. It's a non-negotiable. It's not something they strive for. It's something they demand from themselves every single day in everything they do. The difference between those who win and those who struggle isn't talent. It's not intelligence. It's not luck. It's the standard they set for themselves. You see, success isn't something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who demands excellence from themselves, no matter the situation. When you make excellence your standard, your work improves, your discipline strengthens, your habits sharpen, and opportunities start to appear. People take notice, doors open, and suddenly you find yourself in a position where success is no longer a question of if, it's only a matter of when. Think about it. If you approach every single task, no matter how small, as an opportunity to operate at the highest level, what happens? If you decide that everything you touch will be done with precision, with care, with an attention to detail that most people ignore, what happens? Your work starts to stand out. You begin to separate yourself. While others are doing the bare minimum, you're delivering results that command respect. While others are taking shortcuts, you're building a reputation for reliability, for excellence. And that reputation follows you. It creates momentum. It opens doors that remain closed to those who settle for average. This applies to every single area of your life. If you commit to being excellent in your health, your body transforms. If you refuse to accept anything less than the best from yourself in your work, your career takes off. If you hold yourself to the highest standard in your relationships, your connections deepen. Your influence grows, and the quality of people around you improves. Because excellence isn't just about what you do, it's about who you become. It's about developing a mindset where anything less than your best feels unacceptable. But let's be honest, most people don't operate like this. Most people are looking for the easiest way out. They want success, but they don't want the responsibility that comes with demanding more from themselves. They want the rewards, but they aren't willing to hold themselves accountable. And that's why they stay stuck. Because the truth is, if you leave any room for excuses, if you allow yourself to slack, if you let yourself off the hook even once, you'll do it again and again, until suddenly you wake up one day and realize you've built a habit of settling for less. That's why the decision to commit to excellence has to be absolute. It has to be non-negotiable. It has to be something you live by no matter what. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable at first. Excellence is difficult. It requires effort. It requires focus. It requires you to show up even when you don't feel like it, to give your best even when no one is watching. But the moment you make that commitment, when you truly decide that anything less than excellence is unacceptable, everything starts to change. You stop making excuses. You stop looking for shortcuts. You stop waiting for motivation, because when excellence is the only option, there's no debate, no hesitation. You do what needs to be done, period. And that kind of discipline, that kind of commitment, that kind of relentless pursuit of greatness is what guarantees success. Not hope, not luck, not talent, just the unwavering decision to never accept anything less than your absolute best. Now here's the most important part. Once you set this standard, you have to protect it. You can't let the world pull you back into mediocrity. You can't let distractions, laziness, or the opinions of others weaken your commitment. You have to guard your mindset. You have to remind yourself every single day that excellence is not an act. It's a lifestyle. It's who you are. It's how you operate. It's the foundation of everything you do. And when you live this way, when you truly commit to this level of excellence, success is no longer something you chase. It's something that becomes inevitable. Because the world always rewards those who demand more from themselves. The world always makes room for those who refuse to settle. The world always recognizes those who operate at a level that most people aren't willing to reach. So the question is, are you willing to make that commitment? Are you willing to set a new standard for yourself? Are you ready to make excellence your non-negotiable? Because if you are, everything in your life will begin to change. Not someday, not eventually, but right now. The moment you decide. Number 6, high standards aren't hard, but low standards make life miserable. There's something powerful about raising your standards. The moment you decide that what used to be acceptable is no longer good enough, everything in your life starts to shift. The way you work, the way you think, the way you carry yourself, it all begins to change. And that's because high standards aren't actually hard. What's hard is living with low standards. What's hard is accepting less than you deserve and feeling miserable because deep down, you know you're capable of more. Most people don't struggle because they lack the ability to succeed. They struggle because they accept too little from themselves. They tolerate distractions, inconsistency, procrastination. They allow themselves to slack off. They make excuses for why they're not where they want to be. And with every excuse, every compromise, their confidence takes a hit. Because nothing destroys a person faster than knowing they could do better, but choosing not to. That's what really makes life hard. That's what leads to frustration, regret, and a constant feeling of being stuck. Raising your standards isn't about being perfect. It's not about putting pressure on yourself or making your life more difficult. It's about making life easier in the long run. Because when you expect more from yourself, you create discipline, and discipline makes everything simpler. You don't waste time debating whether to do something, you just do it. You don't let yourself off the hook when you feel tired or unmotivated, you push through. You don't spend your days overthinking or doubting, you take action. And that kind of approach to life eliminates so much stress, so much anxiety because you know exactly what you need to do. Low standards, on the other hand, make everything a battle. When you operate with low standards, you have to fight yourself just to get the basics done. You wake up late and spend the rest of the day playing catch up. You tell yourself you'll work hard, but then you keep making excuses. You promise yourself you'll improve, but then you fall back into old habits. And every time that happens, you feel worse about yourself. You start to believe that maybe you're just not cut out for success. Maybe you just don't have what it takes. But that's not true. The problem isn't your ability, it's your standards. Think about any area of your life where you're struggling. Maybe it's your career, maybe it's your health, maybe it's your finances. Now ask yourself, what are you accepting that you shouldn't be? What behaviors are you allowing that are keeping you stuck? What excuses are you making that are holding you back? Because once you get honest about that, you'll see the real problem isn't your situation, it's what you've been willing to tolerate. And the moment you decide you're done tolerating it, everything starts to change. It's like going to the gym. If you only work out when you feel like it, if you only put in effort when it's convenient, you'll never see results. But if you decide that skipping workouts is no longer an option, that taking care of your body is a non-negotiable, suddenly you don't have to rely on motivation anymore. It becomes a part of who you are. You don't question it. You don't negotiate with yourself. You just do it. And that same principle applies to every area of life. When you make success your standard, you stop needing motivation. You stop waiting for inspiration. You just show up and do what needs to be done. That's the difference between those who win and those who stay stuck. Winners don't have more talent, more resources, or better opportunities. They just hold themselves to a higher standard. They demand more from themselves, and because of that, their results are on a completely different level. But here's the truth. Anyone can raise their standards. Anyone can make the decision that from now on, they won't accept anything less than their best. And when you do that, when you commit to holding yourself to a higher level, everything in your life starts to improve. Your confidence grows. Your discipline strengthens. Your results multiply. And the best part? Once you start operating with high standards, you'll never want to go back, because you'll realize that life isn't harder when you expect more from yourself. It's actually easier. You feel better. You perform better. You attract better opportunities. And you start to see that the real struggle, the real pain, comes from settling for less than you're capable of. So if you want to make your life easier, if you want to eliminate stress, doubt, and frustration, stop tolerating low standards. Stop accepting less than your best. Stop allowing yourself to stay stuck. Decide right now that you are done with excuses, done with procrastination, done with inconsistency. Raise your standards and watch how quickly your life starts to transform. Number 7, if you want to change your life, change what you say yes and no to. There comes a moment when you realize that your life isn't just shaped by the big choices. It's built on the small, everyday decisions you make. It's not just about the career you choose, the city you live in, or the relationships you pursue. It's about what you say yes to and what you say no to, day after day, year after year. The reality is, the life you're living right now is a direct result of the things you've accepted and the things you've rejected. Every opportunity you took, every distraction you allowed, every bad habit you tolerated, every boundary you failed to set, it all adds up. And if you don't like where you are, the fastest way to change everything is to take a hard look at what you've been agreeing to without even thinking. Most people stay stuck, not because they lack ambition, but because they keep saying yes to the wrong things and no to the things that could change their lives. They say yes to comfort and no to challenge. They say yes to distractions and no to focus. They say yes to excuses and no to accountability. And the worst part, they don't even realize they're doing it. They wonder why they're not making progress, why they feel overwhelmed, why they're always busy but never getting anywhere. It's because their yes and no are completely out of alignment with the life they actually want. And the truth is, until you fix that, nothing else will change. Saying yes seems harmless until you realize that every yes is a commitment. Every time you agree to something, you're spending your time, your energy, and your attention. And if you're not careful, you'll spend it on things that don't serve you. You'll spend it on other people's priorities instead of your own. You'll spend it on temporary comfort instead of long-term growth. You'll spend it on things that feel urgent but aren't actually important. And then one day you'll wake up wondering why you don't have time for the things that actually matter. This is why so many people struggle with discipline. It's not that they don't have the ability to stay focused, it's that they've already given away all their time and energy to things that don't matter. They've already said yes to too many distractions. They've already filled their schedule with obligations that drain them instead of move them forward. And by the time they finally get around to working on their dreams, they have nothing left to give. If you want to change your life, you have to start saying no more often, not because you're rude, not because you're selfish, but because your future depends on it. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve you, you're actually saying yes to something greater, to your vision, to your growth, to your potential. And if that makes some people uncomfortable, so be it. Because at the end of the day, the people who truly care about you will respect your boundaries, and the people who don't, they were never on your side to begin with. The hardest part about saying no is dealing with the guilt. We're taught to be agreeable. We're taught to please others. We're taught to be flexible, to go with the flow, to make sacrifices. And while there's nothing wrong with helping others, you cannot keep doing it at the expense of your own dreams. You cannot keep putting yourself last. You cannot keep saying yes to everyone else while your own goals sit on the back burner. Because one day you're going to wake up and realize that you spent your entire life making other people happy while never doing the things that truly mattered to you. Saying no is not about shutting people out. It's about protecting your time. It's about valuing your energy. It's about making sure that your life is being spent on things that actually move you forward. And that starts with being intentional. That starts with deciding what really matters to you and refusing to settle for anything less. But it's not just about what you say no to, it's also about what you start saying yes to. You have to start saying yes to discipline. Yes to consistency. Yes to the hard work, the late nights, the sacrifices that success requires. You have to say yes to discomfort. Because every time you do, you're growing. Every time you choose to show up when you don't feel like it, every time you push through resistance, every time you put in effort when no one is watching, you're proving to yourself that you're capable of more. Most people are waiting for motivation, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting for someone to give them permission. But the people who actually succeed, they don't wait. They say yes before they feel ready. They take action before they have all the answers. They commit before they have all the details figured out, because they know that the biggest risk in life isn't failing. It's never even trying. If you want to change your life, change what you allow, change what you give your time and energy to. Stop saying yes to distractions, to laziness, to excuses. Start saying yes to the things that actually move you forward, and watch how fast everything starts to change. Number 8, success is a lifestyle, not a one-time event. Success isn't a moment. It isn't a trophy you win and put on a shelf. It isn't a one-time breakthrough, a lucky break, or a single victory that changes everything. Success is a lifestyle. It's the way you think, the way you work, the way you show up every single day. It's not something you achieve once and then relax. It's something you live. It's a process, a habit, a commitment to excellence that never stops. And the moment you start treating it like a lifestyle instead of a destination, that's the moment everything changes. The problem is most people want success to be an event. They want one big moment that transforms their life. They want the magic shortcut, the overnight success, the instant results. And when it doesn't happen, they get frustrated. They give up. They think they've failed. But the truth is, success was never supposed to happen in one big moment. It was supposed to be built piece by piece through the small decisions you make every single day, the habits you form, the standards you hold yourself to, the effort you put in even when nobody's watching. That's what separates the people who win from the people who stay stuck. It's easy to look at successful people and think they just got lucky. It's easy to see the highlight reel, the achievements, the wealth, the freedom, and assume they had some kind of advantage. But what you don't see is the lifestyle behind it. You don't see the years of discipline, the sacrifices, the relentless consistency. You don't see the mornings when they showed up tired, the nights when they worked while everyone else was sleeping, the countless times they failed but refused to quit. Because that's the part of success nobody talks about. That's the part most people aren't willing to do, and that's why most people never get there. If you want real success, you have to stop chasing moments and start building habits. You have to stop waiting for motivation and start committing to discipline. Motivation comes and goes. Some days you'll feel inspired, other days you won't. But discipline is what makes you show up regardless of how you feel. It's what makes you push forward even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's inconvenient, even when no one else believes in you. And the people who understand this, they don't just succeed once. They succeed over and over again, because success isn't something they achieve. It's something they live. The reason most people never make it is because they treat success like a phase. They get excited for a few weeks, they put in the effort for a little while, and then when they don't see instant results, they go back to their old habits. They think they tried and failed, but in reality, they never even gave themselves a real chance. They didn't stay long enough to see the results of their effort. They didn't commit long enough to make success a part of who they are. And that's the difference. The people who win don't do it for a few weeks or a few months. They do it for life. Success is a lifestyle, because the moment you stop doing the things that got you there, you start losing it. You don't just reach the top and stay there automatically. You have to keep pushing. You have to keep growing. You have to keep setting higher standards for yourself, because the second you get comfortable, the second you start making excuses, that's when you start falling backwards. And before you know it, you're back where you started, wondering what happened. This is why so many people struggle with maintaining success. They think once they achieve a goal, the work is done. They think once they hit a milestone, they can relax. But that's not how it works. Success is rented, and the rent is due every single day. You have to keep putting in the effort, keep showing up, keep doing what it takes to stay at the top of your game. Because the moment you stop, someone else is still working, someone else is still improving, someone else is still building the habits that will take them further while you're slowing down. And if you're not careful, you'll wake up one day wondering how you lost everything you worked for. The truth is, if you're serious about success, you have to fall in love with the process. You have to find joy in the work, in the daily grind, in the effort that nobody sees. You have to learn to love the challenge, the setbacks, the struggles, because those are the things that shape you. Those are the things that make you stronger. And when you embrace that, when you stop looking for the easy way and start committing to the journey, that's when you become unstoppable. Most people never get this. They think success is about talent. They think it's about luck. But in reality, success is about consistency. It's about the small decisions you make every day. It's about showing up when you don't feel like it, putting in the work when no one is watching, and refusing to quit when things get hard. It's about turning the actions that create success into a lifestyle, so that winning becomes a habit, not just a one-time achievement. If you really want to change your life, stop waiting for a big break. Stop looking for the one moment that will fix everything. Instead, start focusing on your daily actions. Start making success something you live, not something you chase. Because once you do that, success isn't just possible, it's inevitable. Number 9, discipline is the foundation of high standards. Discipline is the foundation of high standards. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not just having the right connections. Those things might play a role, but without discipline, they mean nothing. Because discipline is what keeps you showing up when motivation fades. It's what makes you do what needs to be done even when you don't feel like it. And if you ever look at someone who seems to have it all together, who seems to achieve more than everyone else, who always seems to be at the top of their game, it's not an accident. It's not just natural ability. It's a commitment to discipline day in and day out. That's what separates the great from the average. Most people don't struggle because they lack the ability. They struggle because they lack the discipline to use it. They have potential, but they don't push themselves. They have opportunities, but they don't follow through. They start things, but they don't finish. And the reason is simple. They let their emotions decide their actions. They only work hard when they feel like it. They only stay consistent when it's convenient. But success doesn't work like that. High standards don't work like that. You don't get to the top by doing things when it's easy. You get to the top by doing them no matter what. The moment you decide that your standards are non-negotiable, everything changes. When you commit to discipline, you stop looking for shortcuts. You stop making excuses. You stop wasting time waiting for the perfect conditions, the right mood, the ideal situation. Because you understand that success is built in the moments when no one is watching. When you wake up earlier than you want to. When you push yourself harder than you think you can. When you stay focused, even when distractions are calling your name. That's where discipline separates those who win from those who just wish. People love to talk about motivation. They love to say things like, I just need to find the motivation to start, or I lost my motivation. That's why I stopped. But let's be honest, motivation is unreliable. Some days you wake up ready to conquer the world. Other days you don't even want to get out of bed. If your success depends on how you feel, you'll never get anywhere. That's why discipline is the key. Discipline is what keeps you moving forward when your feelings tell you to quit. It's what makes you stick to your standards even when nobody else would blame you for lowering them. There will always be an excuse to slack off. There will always be a reason to delay. But once you set high standards for yourself, you have to protect them. Because the moment you start making exceptions, the moment you start lowering your expectations, that's when everything starts to fall apart. Discipline is what stops that from happening. It's what keeps you sharp. It's what ensures that no matter what happens, you hold yourself accountable. Most people think discipline is about restriction, about taking the fun out of life. But in reality, discipline is what gives you real freedom. Because when you live with discipline, you control your life instead of letting life control you. You don't waste time recovering from bad decisions. You don't waste energy fixing mistakes you could have avoided. You don't live in regret wishing you had done more. Instead, you build a life you're proud of. You wake up knowing you're on the right path. And that kind of confidence, that kind of peace, it only comes from discipline. There's no magic trick to this. There's no secret formula. It's simple. Decide what kind of person you want to be, set the highest standards for yourself, and then have the discipline to live up to them. Not just on the good days, not just when you feel like it, every single day. That's the price of success, and the people who are willing to pay it are the ones who win. Number 10, greatness is built on relentless self-accountability. Greatness isn't given. It isn't something you stumble upon by luck, and it's not something someone else can hand to you. Greatness is built piece by piece with relentless self-accountability. That means you don't blame circumstances. You don't blame your past. You don't blame other people. You take full ownership of everything in your life. Your success, your failures, your progress, and your setbacks. Because the moment you take responsibility for everything, you gain power over everything. That's the secret most people miss. They think accountability is a burden, but in reality, it's the key to complete control over your future. Most people never reach their full potential because they refuse to hold themselves accountable. They make excuses. They justify their lack of action. They convince themselves that their failures are someone else's fault. But every time you shift responsibility away from yourself, you give away your power. You make yourself weaker. You create a habit of avoiding reality. And that habit will keep you stuck for the rest of your life. Because here's the truth. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to do the work for you. If you want to be great, if you want to build something extraordinary with your life, it has to start with you looking in the mirror and saying, it's all on me. That's not an easy thing to do. It's far easier to blame your boss, your parents, the economy, your upbringing, or even just bad luck. But none of that changes anything. None of that gets you closer to where you want to be. Taking responsibility, though, that changes everything. When you stop making excuses, when you stop looking for someone else to blame, when you start holding yourself to the highest standard, that's when your life starts to transform. That's when you start making progress at a level most people never experience. Most people don't want to hear this because self-accountability is uncomfortable. It forces you to admit when you're not doing your best. It forces you to accept that the reason you're not where you want to be isn't because of someone else. It's because of your own choices. And that's hard to accept. But if you can be honest with yourself, if you can take responsibility for your failures instead of running from them, you unlock something powerful. Because once you admit that your life is in your control, you also realize that your success is in your control. And that's when you become unstoppable. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't isn't talent. It isn't intelligence. It isn't even opportunity. It's accountability. Successful people demand more from themselves. They don't wait for someone else to push them. They push themselves. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They create the moment. They don't sit around hoping things will get better. They take action to make things better. And most importantly, they don't let themselves off the hook when they fail. They don't make excuses. They don't lower their standards. They look at their mistakes, they learn from them, and they do better next time. That's the mindset that leads to greatness. The moment you start holding yourself accountable for everything in your life, things change. You stop feeling helpless. You stop waiting for someone to give you permission to succeed. You stop accepting mediocrity. And that's when real growth happens. That's when you start moving faster, achieving more, and building momentum that nobody can stop. There will always be an easy way out. There will always be a shortcut, an excuse, a way to justify not pushing yourself. But that's exactly what keeps most people average. Greatness is built on the days when you don't feel like it, but do it anyway. It's built on the discipline to do what's necessary, not what's comfortable. It's built on the willingness to take responsibility for your own results. And when you live that way, when you hold yourself accountable at all times, you don't just succeed, you dominate. If you've made it this far, I want you to take a moment and reflect on something important. The power to change your life has always been in your hands. The only thing standing between where you are and where you want to be is the standards you set for yourself. Raising your standards isn't about being perfect or doing everything right all the time. It's about refusing to settle for anything less than the best you can do, no matter how big or small the task. It's about holding yourself accountable and choosing to do what's right, even when it's tough. That's where real growth happens. Remember, success is a lifestyle, not a one-time event. It's built on consistency, discipline, and relentless self-improvement. It starts with the decisions you make every day. So make the choice today to raise your standards and commit to the life you know you deserve. If you start now, I promise you'll begin to see changes that will move you closer to the life you want. It's not going to happen overnight, but every single day counts. Keep showing up, keep raising the bar, and stay focused on becoming the best version of yourself. Thanks for watching, and remember, your success begins with you. Go out there and make it happen.